rolling to the state of the teams here. Today we're going to cover the Broncos, the Steelers, and the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to throw it to LSV himself about the state of his Chiefs right now.
All right. Yeah, well, I've been pretty quiet. Long weekend. A lot of stuff going on. Definitely was excited about the win the Chiefs had over Detroit. There was a lot of angst at the end of that game. Some people asked me about that today at work. This skirmish at the end when Juju got poked in the face or whatever that turned out to be. I think that there was probably some trash talking when Patrick Mahomes got in the end zone. Basically, he kind of just jogged in there, this whole Superman chest, and then I'm a dog. And I don't know if he said anything, but that definitely, I feel like, fired up Detroit. And so maybe that's where some of that skirmish came from at the end of the game. I'm okay with that. As a Chiefs fan, Chiefs fans want to see your team get right. You start worrying about your team early on in the year when they start off 0-2, even though it was a loss in Brazil to the Chargers. And then, going back and facing again, even though it's at home, you're playing the Super Bowl Eagles that handled us well. We were talking about that when Twitch came out here tonight, that, other than some garbage points at the end of that game, they owned us in the Super Bowl. Yeah. And so, what I'm looking for at this point is that fire in your belly. And I got excited every time I got on social media and saw people coming out there and said, you woke the beast. Did you see the look on Patrick Mahomes' face that he's tired of all of the trash talk and where they at? And at the end of the day, he's somebody that steps up and proves that they're still the team to beat. Despite what that record is, they lost to opponents that were playing with a purpose. Yeah. So now I look back at, so what do you do with that win? Well, the great news is that you got a couple home games. The Raiders, the Raiders have had that little circus act where they drove around Arrowhead, and that, I think, definitely has kind of set some things in the tone in the locker room for why the Chiefs definitely want to handle that business at home. So I feel like Chiefs are going to beat the Raiders at home. Then they have the Commanders at home, and I hope the Commanders struggle a little bit. But I like them in those home games. I'm glad that those two are at home. I'd be a little bit more nervous if those were road games, because I feel like if those two are both road games, we probably drop one of those as you look past it, you don't prepare for it, even though I think Andy Reid is always preparing his team for success. But, that was one of the things when they went out there to play Jacksonville on that Monday night. I said, don't look past the Jaguars. It's a primetime game, and they want this. And I don't know that we were ready for what we saw out there. And then November 2nd, they go on the road, but they play the Bills. And at the beginning of the year, I would have said, this is one of them that when you look at schedule, that maybe you drop this one. And then you look at where the Bills have been at the last couple of weeks, and I think that they try to get their stuff right. But I do like the fact that I think we can win those 3 games. Then we turn our record into 6-3 versus the 3-3 where we're at now. And then you have that bye week that comes right at the right time, right there when it means it. Sometimes I feel like when you get that bye on your schedule and it's early on, man, there's no rest. You got a long season ahead of you. And when things go wrong, you don't have a chance to get it right. And so I do like the fact that they have that bye that November 9th weekend, because then they go on the road to play the Broncos. And that's been the team that, when we did our preseason podcast, Box had the Broncos winning the division, and Twitch had the Chiefs winning the division. And so when you look at that now, you're like, that could go either way. But I think the next 3 weeks play a big conversation in what the AFC West is looking like. And I'm glad that they have that week before they have to travel out to Denver and play a Broncos team that, I expect the Broncos to win a couple of these next games. Yeah. They have Giants and they have their bye. This is, for me, I'm looking at, we need these 3 games. We need a little bit of help there for that position to give us the edge going into that game. But I was definitely thrilled to see us moving the ball. One of the great things, we didn't really talk about much that happened in the Detroit game, but we didn't turn the ball over. And that's crucial. You start turning the ball over in the NFL, you lose the turnover battle. It's hard to put together a win when you're giving teams, free opportunities to score.
Case in point, Philly.
Yeah, and so I'm definitely excited about Rice. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to make, but there's another threat down the field. I do like the fact that they're still splitting some carries up there between Pacheco and Hunt. I mean, so we don't have a dominant guy back there, but I feel like we always have fresh legs. They haven't broke a lot of big plays yet, but there's been a balance there that between the two of them, they're putting up 120 yards in situations where you're thinking, hey, let's just run the ball to get some short down yardage. It does make me a little nervous that you got Patrick Mahomes still out there running all over the place, and I don't like seeing
Mahomes has 10 carries for 32 yards. I mean, and those 32 yards are hard-earned, not easy run yards.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I hope that they get these next 3 games. I hope that when we come back here in mid-November and we're looking at them going out to Denver, I hope that they're sitting at a 1-game lead in the AFC West, or at least tied for that. So let's go Chiefs, man.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs have a lot of upside coming up. I mean, you still got Mahomes, you still got Reed, you're getting your wide receiver 1 back. Worthy's kind of hitting his stride. The run game still kind of concerns me. I mean, just the durability throughout the year, like it works now. But the less you can run Mahomes, I think the better. I mean, on obviously those 10 rushes, there's 0 QB design runs in there. Like, they're not running Q power with Patrick Mahomes. That's him scrambling and just a dude making plays. But I question the sustainability of that throughout the year. That's my only downside of the Chiefs is right now they kind of have a 2 running back game, but they're kind of going the hot hand, but with only having 50 yards from Pacheco and with another 20.
Definitely a little nervous as you look at the stats in there. And I was like, man, where was Thornton at on that last game? Because the game before, he had 5 targets, got 3 of those. They were 30 yards a pop, so he had 99 or 90 yards receiving. And he was non-existent in this last game. But the more weapons you add out there, that changes some of those dynamics. But I'll be curious again to see how much of an impact Rice has to come back there and see what we look like. But yeah, let's go Chiefs.
Rolling into the state of the Broncos here. The Broncos get a very, very, very ugly win over the Jets, 13-11. I mean, this game, I didn't watch this game because I don't have NFL Plus or whatever you need to watch it. But, I mean, I woke up and saw the score and the Broncos were up, and I was like, how are they only up 13? Shout out the Jets for sucking, I guess. I mean, finishing the game with -10 pass yards is an outrageous stat, just especially in the NFL. Like, you could throw bubble passes and whatnot. But the Broncos' defense is the only reason we won this game. Team all together had 9 total sacks. Jonathan Cooper has 2. Bo Nix didn't throw any picks, but I mean 19 for 30 is not a great stat line. 174, only taking 1 sack, so that offensive line keeps playing good. But J.K. Dobbins gets shut down. Evan Ingram's our leading receiver, so offensively it was kind of a down week for sure. I mean, only scoring 13 points against the Jets defense, who's not world-breaking.
What did Harvey end up getting? I don't have that in front of me.
R.J. Harvey had 2 carries for 4 yards.
Yeah, see?
So
I keep looking for him to be somebody that contributes moving the ball.
And then 4 catches for 21. So, I mean, it's just
non-existent.
Yeah, I said last week, or I said
no more football in London.
Yeah,
those have been crap games every week.
Let's turn it off. I mean, I'm glad my team won. I mean, we were down, and then Bo Nix led not the only good drive, but one of the only good drives of the game to go down and kick a field goal to win it. But I mean, our defense saved our ass again this week. I mean, 9 sacks. 9 sacks in the NFL total is a crazy stat, but 9 sacks against and you have guys like Justin Strand, who is a second-year guy who's coming in and playing great. Cooper obviously re-up. Zach Allen gets one. Kind of a Patrick Surtain. I mean, obviously that pass defense, -10 completion. I mean, total yards. But I said this before, and I'll say it again. Sean Payton needs to give up the play calling duties. I mean, I believe in him. I mean, he's proven he's won a Super Bowl. But I think David Webb, the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach, just to see what he has, like, because there's going to be a game that our offense is not going to be able to. We can't expect the defense to win us every game. I mean, obviously they won us this week, but coming with the Giants this week, that Giants offense is hot, and I think our defense can get stops, but the defense is not going to be able to win us this game purely because that Giants defense is also good. I mean, Abdul Carter's good. Sexy Dexy there in the middle, defensive tackle, is playing great. So I think we get the win this week, and I think we go on a little bit of a run here, stack some wins against the Cowboys, the Texans, the Raiders, and then we roll into that Chiefs game you're talking about. They're coming off the bye, and who knows what that's going to look like.
And Twitch, I know we don't talk a whole lot about fantasy football, but we're all in a fantasy football league together. And Box is the commissioner, and I had to have a conversation with him that how is it that the Broncos defense, they get 9 sacks
And
they only had 15 points? Because I benched the Broncos defense this week. I was on the fence, but I really thought the Packers defense was going to come out and put up more. But then when I looked at all those sacks and they only had 15 points, I said, are we really only getting 1 point per sack in our league? Now, the flip side of that was Old Lutz kicked me a 50-some-yarder, so I got 5 points out of him. He adjusted those. So fantasy football league with you guys, this has been great, but we definitely need to adjust the sacks. to at least give the guys 2 points, man. We're talking about these are your defensive players of the weekend in fantasy. That doesn't amount to squat. So, but
Sean Payton, give up the play calling. Vance Joseph, keep that defense playing good. Let's get a good gritty win this week against arguably one of the hottest teams in the league right now in the Giants.
Do you think that's an ego thing? Because there is definitely that culture in the NFL that you want to have that much control.
Yeah.
And there's been other teams that have struggled over the year that, yes, this is why we hired you. You have the great mindset to go and lead your team to obviously the ultimate goal of winning a Super Bowl championship. But sometimes you have to trust the people that you hired, that you put on your team to be in those positions. And there's been a lot of teams where if you can relinquish some of that responsibility, if you have the right guys there, you shouldn't need to be that hands deep in the organization. Like you said with Jerry Jones, as long as his hand's still in the cookie jar, they're going to struggle. So if you need somebody there to fill that role, go out and get them and let the expert focus on the play calling. I don't know. That's just...
I mean, Sean Payton's an offensive guy. He's always been an offensive-minded guy, minus, the whole Bounty Gate thing that happened back then. But that's neither here nor there. But I think...
I like the aggressiveness. I don't know that it's the ethical approach.
Yeah, the ethical approach. But I mean, let's go. And stealing Dan Campbell's on. Let's go eat some kneecaps. Let's go get some guys here. But
never apologize for winning.
Yep.
Coach Stott.
But I think it's definitely an ego thing for sure. I think it's... I've won a Super Bowl. You guys haven't won a Super Bowl. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm not saying that Sean Payton needs to take his hands completely off the offense. I like a lot of what he does. His run schemes are good. I like his screen game. His screen game is obviously good. His passing game, the play action pass has been there. We've just missed him a couple times. But I think getting a new play caller in Bo Nix's ear, especially who's a quarterback's coach, so there's obviously a rapport there. I mean, he's a quarterback coach last year as well, so they've built this relationship that I don't think Sean Payton gives up play calling just purely out of ego and, wanting to be in control of that team. But I think it's going to hurt us more down the long stretch than it's going to help us.
I just think you got to trust in all the people that you're putting in those roles. I don't know. It's
it's a definitely good, interesting question. But rolling into the state of the Steelers here, Twitch, take it away for our Steelers talk. Quick shout out to Jalen Ramsey having the game of his life with 2 sacks. He's in his post-game interview, he said, "I'm going to tell my kids about this game. I had 2 sacks in the game with Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt. What's up with that?"
Yeah. No, good week for Pittsburgh. Sitting at 4-1, sitting at top, sitting comfortably. The next closest team is the 2-4 Bengals, who we play on Thursday. So a real opportunity this week to grab even more of a stranglehold on that division. Not that people have high expectations of the Bengals, but. I feel like this Thursday's games is obviously like we talked about the Ravens back half of the schedule, Pittsburgh's schedule after this week. I feel over the next month we're really going to learn a lot about Pittsburgh. But they play the Bengals this week, then they get their mini bye, and then they play against 3 teams that we both have most likely being in the playoff push. In Green Bay, the Colts and the Chargers, and then another game sandwich with the Bengals. They play the Bears in Chicago in November, the Bills, the Lions, the Ravens twice. So definitely a stack up wins where we can get them. I feel like a lot of people, and I don't mean to say this as a pessimistic Steelers fan. I say it every week. I'm a diehard fan for life. I said, but like unfortunately, there's been other years, even like going back to last year, losing 5 straight at the end, where we had a 2.5. We had the first game tiebreaker with the Ravens with 4 to play, and we absolutely shit the bed. So if you're Pittsburgh, I think a couple different things. Sitting at 4-1, it may not always wow you. Like to me, I hate to sound like a broken record, but Aaron Rodgers continued last week what he's been doing all year, and that's for the most part not turning the ball over. There might be lags in the game where you're only getting 1 or 2 first downs and punting a lot. I said, but it seems like there's this is the formula. This is formula for Ben going back to his rookie year, going back to Cordell Stewart. I mean, it's old school mentality of like we're going to run the football, we're going to make enough plays on offense to play action, not turn the ball over and play good defense. So with Pittsburgh having, like I said, 17, 18 sacks the last 3 weeks, that's and having some guys come back this last week, that's the formula. It's where for the better part of the game, you didn't see anything flash from Aaron Rodgers, but then when in a 16. It was still 9-3. But the first touchdown that Rodgers threw late in the third quarter, he's rolling to the right and finds 4th tight end Connor Hayward, Cam Hayward's brother, and not what your typical perfect spiral Aaron Rodgers pass, but I remember watching it live, and you just see it like in the back of the end zone. You see him, and he just timed it where if he threw another second, the defender gets the ball on it. It was kind of a wobble ball, but where only Hayward can catch it, and also like the chemistry with DK Metcalf. So I'm not going to go down, keep beating a dead horse. As far as losing Pickens, I can only imagine if they had a 1-2 punch like that. But for like the 4th straight week, again, we said the same thing about Pickens. Metcalf had a touchdown for the 4th straight week. You can tell there's some obvious chemistry there, and then again chunk plays. So again, Pittsburgh's offense through Aaron Rodgers has pretty much been throwing, for the most part, throwing DK on the outside. I'd like to see more in the middle of the field. And running the football. But that's just it. Aaron Rodgers, at least for one half of each of those games, whether it be the Patriots, whether it be the Vikings, they get up early and they look really good. And he's just that calm hand to get enough first downs. It's nothing sexy, nothing fancy or flashy. But Aaron Rodgers, for the most part, you don't see old school Aaron Rodgers. You definitely can tell him going for a first down. He doesn't have the same wheels that he used to have. For sure. But the 3 or 4 times a game where throws what only Aaron Rodgers could make, or like guys like Mahomes, but like Aaron Rodgers in his prime, you see like, oh dang, that's an NFL throw. So like I feel like that's been the stabilizing hand for the Steelers. And then again, it last week looked like and this is what I want to see Pittsburgh build on, is exactly what I talked about last week. Looked like a checklist, like they had the same mentality, and that was one, the offensive line. For like the 3rd out of 4th game, like I said, they didn't allow a sack, so keeping Rodgers upright. And then the next thing I mentioned I wanted to see was after Jaylen Warren being one of the offensive stars the last couple of years and being hurt, and Gainwell having that really good game against Minnesota before the bye with 100 yards, I wanted to see them. Let's see both of them. So combined, they had over 100 yards rushing, and so like that was really good to see. So again, that goes back to really good offensive line play. So it's nice to see them gelling. The other thing that we keep talking about, and I really want to see Pittsburgh before I think Pittsburgh, I've heard Adam Schefter and a couple other reports that said they've been smartly in talks with several different teams about trying to get a number 2 receiver, because that's what I've been saying for 2 years. Calvin Austin's expected to miss this week again, so I wanted to see like who's that number 2 wide receiver going to be, / let's get the tight ends involved. And you could definitely tell on Sunday that it was by committee by the tight end. Still don't know where, as far as like if it's a scheme thing. I said, but Pat Freiermuth only still on that 1 catch. I said, but Jonnu Smith touching the ball 5 or 6 times, 3 or 4 catches. Actually, the star of the day for as far as the tight ends or receivers besides DK was Darnell Washington, 6'8", basically another offensive lineman. Yeah. I said, but finding the big target for some big first downs. So like that, I still want to see something. Like Roman Wilson had a catch. I said, we don't have a number 2 wide receiver still, but kind of like I said, taking place of that for that. Who's going to take that heat off of DK? So it seems like every week DK's had 4 or 5 catches, but it's for like 100 yards, like you said, a little bit better than like Thornton's numbers. But that you could tell like it was by committee, but getting the tight ends involved more, which is what I want to see, or who find that the number 2 wide receiver. I said with Connor Hayward being the 4 guy and getting the touchdown, the first touchdown pass. So, to me, that's what I want to see. I want to see them continue to use the 1-2 punch. In years that they made the playoffs the last few years with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, it's been that by committee, and obviously that's what Pittsburgh's known for. And obviously that also helps Rodgers, be more efficient, open up the passing game, run. And then last but not least, but I really want to give a shout out again to Joey Porter Jr. I think, this is his 3rd year playing. I heard a statistic on Sunday, which I didn't even realize. I knew he was really, really good his rookie year. I said, but he has not given up a touchdown in man coverage since 2023. So I said he's that 1A, 1B with Jalen Ramsey, who, like you said, is playing back to the end of Jacksonville, first year of the Rams, kind of. So with him and Jabril Peppers and Deshaun Elliott laid out a couple people. It honestly looked like old school. I hate to say it, but like James Harrison type, borderline, not intentionally dirty, but some really hard hits. I said, so having that in the backfield and the safeties, and then to go with Ramsey, and then having Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Jr. got his hands on the ball several times, almost had a pick in the end zone at the end of the game. So yeah, I feel like getting him back is a big thing for the defense, and as far as also getting Alex Highsmith back. So what you got?
So before, I want this on the record from Twitch, by the way. We have a small fan base, obviously. We have some friends and family that tune into this every week, and we love that. And one of the great things about that, if you've been tuning in every week, that every other week, Twitch's 9-year-old son Finn gets in here and does his picks, and a lot of people tell me how much they love that, to see, a 9-year-old being able to step in and have a conversation about football, talking about the Bengals, who his dad has loved. And as a family, we all know where this comes from and stuff like that. But he's not out here to make his pick this week. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say, all right, if Finn takes the Bengals, there should be something that if the Bengals win this week, Twitch should have to do something to eat that loss in the spirit of his son being a Bengals fan. Now, I don't know what that is. You're probably going to make him watch the game in the closet or in the bathroom or outside or unplug his TV. But if Finn's Bengals get a win Thursday night against the Steelers, I expect next Tuesday you have to do something stupid to give a shout out to Finn for that. So you'll have to go home and ask him, what's Dad have to do?
I'll send you a text message, and then I'll make a bet with Finn, and then we'll let everybody know next Tuesday how that turned out. So,
yeah.
But I think the other thing for Pittsburgh, I guess we talked about stacking the wins. I said, just being realistic, I hope I'm wrong. I said, but I feel like this team's ceiling the last couple of years has been maybe a playoff win. And so, that just goes to show that stacking up these wins early while Baltimore's struggling, if they were to hang on to the division, because obviously they're in the driver's seat right now, but I'm not singing until the fat lady does. I mean, I've just seen it too many times, and with that back half of the schedule, and I'm still not overly inspired by our offense. But with that being said, you're talking about if Pittsburgh wins the division, well, then most likely I said they could go. It's the playoffs; they could go either way. But I'm saying, if you're going against a Denver team, who that game could have gone 50-50 last year. It's a new year, different team. But you're playing somebody most likely like a Denver or a Chargers team, most likely. Maybe it's in my mind because I'm still thinking the Chiefs won the division. I'm sorry. But I'm thinking like a Chargers, a Broncos, a Jaguars, a Patriots, who they've already beat. You get one of those kind of teams at home. Or the Texans that squeak in or something like that. Or even Baltimore.
Yeah, that squeak in.
If with a 3-6, 2 set, we're not going to get the 2 seed, I don't think. But
at least our Steelers fans back, man. He's on a roll for a guy that didn't even pick him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, woo.
Yeah. But I feel like this is why it's so important right now for Pittsburgh to stack up wins, is because, like I said, I hope that I'm wrong. But I feel like our ceiling is to get us a playoff win for the first time since 2016. And I think the best way to do that is by winning the division. We have the stranglehold on the division, and then you're playing somebody like I said, no offense, but like those teams that I mentioned, Jacksonville or Denver, typically don't light it up on the scoreboard. So you're going to keep them in close games in our defense. Whereas opposed to if you lose somebody like Cincinnati and you lose a couple more of these, and you lose to a good Chicago team now, like you don't win the division, even if we do make the playoffs. So now We've seen how that plays out the last several years going into a place like Buffalo or Kansas City or Baltimore, especially if we choke down the stretch. And I'm not saying we're going to, knock on wood, but it's so, to me, it's so crucial for Pittsburgh to give themselves a realistic opportunity if they want to take advantage of Rodgers last year, or what I consider our ceiling is the playoff win, a second-round playoff visit, and then just seeing what happens, maybe upset somebody. That I think the only way we can get to that is if we win the division. If we don't win the division, I don't know if we'll make the playoffs, or even if we do, that's the difference between going on the road against a Buffalo, a Kansas City, and playing a home game against like a Denver, a Charger, or somebody like that. So let's hope we get it done this week.
I don't know about you, but I'm an optimistic Steelers fan. I think Aaron Rodgers has these guys all zinned out, probably has crystals. Everybody's wearing crystals around the facility.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers have a good chance to get a playoff win. I mean, their defense is getting hot at the right time. I think they go on a little bit of a run, and I don't know if they get deeper in the playoffs, but I could see them getting a favorable matchup and winning because mean, Aaron Rodgers does just enough to get the ball done. I mean, he's been there. He's been to the dance before. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it takes to get he's won a Super Bowl. He's been to countless NFC championships.
Yeah.
It seemed like there for a little bit with the Packers. He went like 3 or 4 in a row and just lost.
Right.
But yeah, I'm an optimistic Steelers fan.
I'm
an optimistic Chiefs fan because we've got that proven record over the last.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like I think they make the playoffs. I think Tomlin, but I think Aaron Rodgers brings that little bit of a. I mean, I know he's old. You could say he's kind of washed up, but he brings that X factor at quarterback that they haven't had since the Big Ben days.
Yeah.
Like
he's not what he used to be, but he's still one of the all-time greats. So even him at his, I'll say it like game management.
Yeah.
Stage of his career, like
he's no Duck Hodges, but
well, we've seen that even with not Green Bay, but with Minnesota and Brett Favre. As great as he played, like it's because of that Jared Allen defense and some of the pieces that Adrian Peterson and those guys, or obviously Tom Brady and the Bucks, they were stacked on offense. Well, they were stacked on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they were good.
But I mean, that's just it. I feel like Rodgers. I will go back and say I was wrong with it because he has been that. I thought for sure if we struggled, that you'd see more of the temper tantrum, Rodgers. I said, and he's definitely been that cool, like calm hand that I said hasn't been turning the ball over. So, yeah, I hope that hopefully we can get the win this week.
This is a guy that hated Rodgers for a decade.
That's
a different topic. But yeah,
I liked Rodgers at first until I said I started watching him more in Green Bay the last few years, and then like. Watching interviews with him on the Pat McAfee show with T-shirts of himself and some of the stuff he would say, he just seemed kind of pompous. And I'm going to be real honest with him, and it's nothing personal against him. I could be wrong. This is just my take. But watching him with the Packers, like I said, several years they were the 1 seed. He was MVP or MVP runner-up.
Yeah.
And then first round, second round, like they have a bye, and they just absolutely shit the bed in the playoffs. So that's another reason why I was kind of hard on him is because they – even in his best years, they choked in the playoffs, and he hasn't done anything in a while. So that's why I was like, kind of.
There you go. Good opportunity.
Yes, sir.
All right. Nice.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our State of the Broncos, Chiefs, and Steelers. Appreciate LSV for having us out here.
Always.
Again, hope everybody's bets hit. Hope y'all stay safe this weekend. Have a great Week 7 of the NFL slate. Hopefully I can catch Twitch this week. See what happens. But appreciate everybody listening, and see y'all next week.